You know, if you're an American citizen, you can like change your whole entire life for about $150. And how do you do that? It's very simple. You fill out one or two forms. You go down there to the post office or the city hall and you get your passport. You raise your right hand. You swear to whatever. You give them your little $120, $150. Couple months later, maybe a little longer now. You know, post 2020 takes a little longer to get your passport. When I got mine, I think it was like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, something like that. But you wait a couple months, you get your passport, your life is changed. Now you can go almost anywhere you want in the world. The American passport is one of like the most powerful passports in the world. I think it was tied for 7th with a couple other countries. Okay. You can go to over 180 countries visa free. All you need is your passport. You book the ticket, you show up, you show them your passport, you're in. This is not the case for like everybody in the world. I don't think a lot of people realize like how fortunate we are to live in a country where our passport is so powerful and it's so easy to get. You know, over the years, I've spent a lot of time around people from other countries who really wanted to come to America. You know, and they told me the stories of like what they had to go through to get here. Some of them did it illegally, you know what I mean? And it was dangerous and life-threatening. Some of them did it legally and it was a ton of paperwork and all this other stuff and sponsors and visas, all this crazy stuff. Got to do to travel. A lot of countries, even with your passport, there's not a lot of places you can go without having to get other visas and all this other stuff. America, pretty much anywhere you trying to go, you just need your passport. And if there is some type of visa stipulation, it's probably going to be super easy for you to get. So why don't more Americans have their passport? Why am I always talking to people and like when I mention I have a passport, they surprised? I don't get it. You would think at like 18, everybody would go get their passport. I don't understand. It's like $100 some. You can go anywhere in the world. We'll spend that on a pair of shoes. We'll spend that on a nice meal. We'll spend that on fake eyelashes. I don't know. We'll spend $150 ain't nothing. $150 is not nothing. Like people got all this credit card debt. You couldn't put your passport on your credit card. You got $12,000 worth of credit card debt. And you couldn't throw $143 on there for a passport. You could tour the world. I just don't get it. I'm like, why don't more Americans have their passport? And I do understand that like, it's just not in the playbook of things, you know, you tell people. If I ever had kids, I'm going to tell them from day one, like, yo, you need to get your passport, you need to travel. But I understand just the average American child probably doesn't hear that. I don't think in 12 years of school, I ever heard the word passport. Maybe they said it when they like, you know, when we were learning to talk or write or read or something. They might have pulled out passport because it's got a lot of P's in it. Kind of a funky word, passport. But like no one ever was like, yo, as soon as you can, you should get your passport, travel the world. No one ever said that. They want to talk to me about Shakespeare and Pythagorean theorem and all this other stuff that who cares about. No one ever said, hey, get your passport. It's right there at the post office. City Hall. I was surprised how quick it went. I said, this can't be it. I just walked in there. The lady looked at my paperwork. I did have to make one phone call because like I think you have to know some information about your parents and I didn't know it. So I had to call moms. Yo, moms, I'm down here at the City Hall. She told me, boom, boom, boom. The lady was like, okay, paperwork's in order. Raise your right hand. Swear to not do nothing crazy or whatever it is. She's like, you're good to go. I'm like, I thought they was going to put me in a room. Ask me the tough questions. You know what I mean? I thought it was going to get real. I was like, man, to get my passport to go anywhere in the world, they going to want to know all kinds of back history. They probably going to want a background test. Excuse me. They probably going to want a drug test. They probably going to want a little DNA samplage. They don't want none of that. Couple forms. A couple weeks later, it came in the mail. It came so quick, I wasn't even, like, I was expecting it to come like 4 months down the road. You know what I mean? So, you know, when you're expecting something to come a while away, you kind of forget about it. I wasn't even expecting it. I got a package in the mail. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, oh, snap, it's my passport. Your boy's up out of here. Now all I got to do is book the ticket. You just go online, you see the, you know, the rules and regulations, the requirements for the country you want to go to. Most of them, a lot of them are going to say U.S. passport holders only need the passport. Think about this. Now, instead of when you're thinking about going on vacation, instead of being like, what state do I want to go to? Instead of the choices just being Gam's house or your auntie's house, you know what I mean? Or your cousin or your son. Now it's like, where in the world do I want to go? I'm going to get real Carmen Sandiego up in here. Where in the world do I want to go? Some of y'all won't get that Carmen Sandiego reference. Y'all young. I apologize. It was a game. It was a show back in the, you know, where in the world. Anyway, get Carmen Sandiego up in here. You can go wherever you want to go. And also, let me just add, because I think a lot of people think international travel is crazy expensive. So they're like, I ain't even going to think about that. It is not as expensive as you think it is. I think a lot of people, excuse me, why am I slipping on my words tonight? I think a lot of people spend more money on like domestic vacations than they would on like international travel. I promise you, going down there to the Disney World with 4 kids is more expensive than you taking you a solo trip to Europe, depending on how you do it. Look into it, please. But like, even if you never go nowhere, why wouldn't you want to have your passport just in case A, you wanted to go somewhere, or maybe B, like you needed to go somewhere? You might need to get up out the country. Maybe you just want to get away. I love being out the country because I'm like, anybody who got beef with me got to hop on a plane and and go through customs to find me. I don't have any beef, ladies and gentlemen. But I do like the thought. I love the thought when I'm out the country that like I ain't got to deal with all them people back in the country. I'm telling you, that simple step of getting your passport changes your mind. Things start to shift because now when you're watching TV and you see a different country, whereas before you'd be like, oh man, that's so beautiful. Now you're like, dang, that's beautiful. I can go there. I could be there next week. I could be there in 6 months. Now things start to change. It's no longer just watching TV, you know, watching videos and you just vicariously experiencing. You like, oh, if I wanted to, I could go there. I could be there. You tell yourself that enough times, suddenly you want to be there. You want to go somewhere. So I urge y'all, especially now, these days, while it's still less than $200, check on the prices. They might have changed since I got mine. But while it's still very inexpensive, while the U.S. passport is still very powerful, like I said, one of the tied for 7th most powerful passport in the world. Some of y'all mad, y'all thought it was first. 7th, calm down. We right there with Denmark. That does sound bad. Shout out to my people in Denmark, my Denmarkians. Yeah, while it's pretty easy, pretty inexpensive, and you can get so much for it, go down there to the post office and get your passport. And then start thinking about where you want to go in the world. Life-changing. Literally life-changing, mind-altering. $100-some. You blow that on a weekend at Chipotle. What are we doing?